So,
Could everyone please take their seats? We're about to begin.
that's the voice of God. So we have about 20, 25 minutes to go, and I have some appropriately considered questions, which you have written. And this first one is to you, David. It says, the school has changed, and it will do in the future with Jeff now at the helm. So what advice would you give to him?
Oh dear.
You've got to look him in the eyes for this one.
I don't think he needs my advice because he's doing such an excellent job.
Oh.
That's very kind. That's too kind. That's too kind.
Okay, so what advice does he need to give you?
I think, in honesty, so when you are ahead, and David and I know this as well, you can't always please everybody. That's not your job. You know, you've got to stand for something, and I think we're fortunate that David's worked with the proprietorial family that runs a school, owns a school, on that side of it. And I'm fortunate to work with a family as well. And if you don't know schools, that's not always the structure. Sometimes you have a fairly distant governing body that occasionally pops in and says hello, and apart from that, I'd be interested to learn how I'm very privileged that the family are very engaged with the school. So if I have a difficult day, I know I've got a chair of governors that's there, chair of directors there for me, and they're there to support the head. And to challenge the head as well, about are those results good enough? How's the behaviour going in the school as well? Is the safeguarding all correct as well? I'd be interested to see how you worked with Charles and on that side of it, as a family side of it. Any advice of dealing with perhaps the proprietorial family as well?
Incidentally, I never had any ambition to be a headmaster.
Oh,
I was very happy as head of English.
yes.
I had a certain amount of responsibility, but I was mainly in the classroom, which is where I
Yeah.
enjoyed being. The big step for me was becoming deputy head,
Yes.
following Peter Kimber,
Yes.
who some people here will remember. He
I
was
do
a
indeed.
great man. And I felt if he and Charles Oxley couldn't work together, what chance would I have? But Peter left, and I was asked to take on the role, and I was very hesitant. On the family side of things, there was an occasion, I don't know if my lads will remember it, the Oxleys had a castle in North Wales, Holkin Castle. You can bypass it on the A55 when you're going to Llandudno or wherever. And they wanted to set it up as a home for women who'd been subjected to domestic abuse. But the local council refused permission, so they needed to use it in various ways. Anyway, one Saturday they invited a number of the boarders to go and spend the day there. I was drawn in with my wife and my two boys to drive one of the minibuses, and it consisted of the Oxleys, Charles, Muriel and daughter Rachel. They laid on a 3-course cooked lunch, served it themselves, refused all offers for washing up. Charles then took us out onto the grounds and we played games. I think it was cricket or rounders or something. But my abiding memory was of him. He actually took his jacket off, which was a rare event, but it was a lovely hot day. And he had a tin of Quality Street. And he ran round the garden throwing sweets from Quality Street for the children behind to run after and try and catch, Pied Piper style. And then we had a picnic tea outside, again served beautifully by the three of them, and again refused all offers of washing and clearing up. And that to me was just amazing.
Yes. Yes.
To draw in boarders. Some of the boarders had guardians who hardly ever saw them. And the Oxleys were aware of that.
Yes.
They wanted to give them a day out.
Yes.
There were other boarders who had helped in various ways, so that he rounded all these youngsters up and gave them a wonderful day out.
Well, a wonderful calibre.
Absolutely. Family man. They always felt that Tower was their family home. It was their home as well as their school, Tower College. So Scarisbrick was always slightly different in that regard. I think particularly for Rachel, after her parents had passed away, she was still living at Tower and principal of the two schools. But she inculcated the family feel through her work in the kindergarten to begin with, and then she saw it as an extended family, I'm sure.
She was a great friend.
Yes.
Great friend. So what were the challenges of running a school in what was a listed building? Still is a listed building.
Yes. Yeah.
What were the challenges of doing that for you and then for you?
Who's going first?
I was not so much aware of it because the Oxes dealt with all that side of things, but you couldn't knock things down or change the appearance of a listed building in the way that, and even adding buildings at the back, you had to fight tooth and nail with the county council. And there were always the historic side, the Heritage Society and the National Trust, people like that, who always had their say. So you had to tread very carefully. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
In some ways quite similar. I'm very fortunate. I know in the family over here, I know Greg's been very involved with the development of the building as well, particularly on that side of it. And I think I was here with Mike when we did the new science block, which is one of our first renovations, which was the end of the North Range. So all the boarders here were staying in that kind of road, hammerhead towards the North Range, and then there's kind of a sort of a T part at the end of it, like a T block at the end. And we were working and trying to build and rebuild this building. Because when the Headley family first took over, you've got to remember that we're looking at a derelict building. So what you've walked through today wasn't really there. It was all, it was really that the roof had fallen in, there were pigeons flying through, and from a school point of view, we could not use that part of the building. So the school operated in the main building a little bit, but mainly outside. And we remember going through planning to convert the new science faculty in, which was the priorities for us first of all, and to move from what was the old science faculty building with, which was very, very popular on that side of it. And I know we have got a legendary science technician here as well. Still here, welcome sir. It's good to have you here. And the little small AV room there, wasn't it, inside? We had a TV occasionally that plays some TV stuff. But the science building, we're trying to explain that it got stopped at one point by, I think, Historic England Heritage, saying, we can't disrupt and change the building. We said, do you realise it's actually falling down? do you realise the rafters are like Cadbury's flakes, it was described as? And you're trying to explain to these people that you're trying to save this building, but they said, no, you can't disrupt the heritage of the building. We want to save it. And those kind of discussions take months and years. I mean, the effort to build this wonderful theatre and to convince them this needs to happen. But the philosophy that the directors take, and I take as well with them, is, we build parts here, and we are looking for the next build as well, to make sure Scarisbrick Hall is here for the long term. So when to have a small school that has a small income will not sustain a 50-acre estate in a historic building. So if we're supporting in building the theatre, and yes, we are looking at boarding coming back to Scarisbrick Hall as well, that's in the plans as well, then that sustains as making sure the building then thrives as well. In some kind of effectively enabling scheme where we produce this, we build this. So we end up at certain points applying a degree of pressure onto West Lancashire, saying, look, you want us to go and repair this part of the main building, well, please grant us this planning so we can grow our business to do that. So it's a complex one, and you're absolutely right. I can't knock down a wall and expand it for 2 more pupils. You can't do that. But you do have a wonderful building to work in as well, and a very special building. And this building has never been a scary building to me. And it's got warmth, it's got a feeling about it. It's got, when you walk into it, the arms of the building kind of engulf you in a positive way. And I've been here late at night, it's never fearful. It's a home. It's a warm place to be.
If there were boarders here, you'd put a blanket over your and you ooh. So this one is to you both, David and Jeff. What are the greatest achievements as heads of Scarisbrick Hall that you really, that was it, I'm so proud I did that.
Things that I did.
Things that you did.
Hard question.
Dear me. I can't think that far back.
shall I buy you some time on that one, okay? I'll try. I'm going to take the easy answer on that side of it. So it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's absolutely 100% true. There was, somebody asked me if what makes the school a success, okay? And, you know, I was watching a documentary one about American football at one point, actually. And actually, it was the idea that when somebody comes back here and shows me the kind of man or woman they are, the kind of family man they are, the kind of values they have, and the kind of life they've lived, then I'll tell you you've been successful as a school. Okay, so my greatest success is when I see, and I've been head for over a decade now, so I'm getting to see quite remarkably, and it's the best moment ever, when they walk through and they are representing something in the world. And I know not every people will do that, okay? But it happens, and I know you've used the phrase before, as I do, that we plant seeds for trees for whose shade we may never sit under. And that sticks with me. So my job isn't what I see when I tell a pupil off for doing something wrong today or tomorrow, or they're late or going through it, and I love encouraging them. But they walk in and say, you know what, this made a difference to me. I'm now carrying that forward as I go forward. Sorry if I stole that.
Thank you. I think one of my greatest achievements was being able to appoint some excellent members of staff.
Yeah.
You know, you get it wrong sometimes, but we had some absolutely brilliant teachers here, really dedicated, committed people. And consequently, the impact on the youngsters is huge. And I've always said to people, you know, if you dig in the garden or plaster a wall, you can see the results straight away. With education, it doesn't work like that. It's a long-term process, as you described. And I just delight in hearing of people who've, like yourself, gone on to do all kinds of things in various parts of the world, locally, nationally, internationally. It's just a great thrill to be able to say, well, we had a part in their development.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. So the last one, we hear about Mike Headley, and know that it comes in the second part of your book. How would you both describe what it was like to know him?
I didn't know him that well. I met him on a few occasions when I came into the school. He was small of stature, but he was a big man. He had big vision and a big heart. And you see the effects of that. That's permeated, I can see, through the family as well. I was checking early this evening. It's now 4 generations of the family coming up through the school and then working for the school, to be part of the school, because he saw it very much as a generational thing, a dynasty, if you like. That's my word, not his. But that's the way it looks to me.
Yes.
He's the head of a dynasty, with Linda, of course, his beloved wife.
I think I wholeheartedly agree on that side of it. And so I did know Mike, and you know, for the time that I knew him, he was somebody, I mean, we had a lot of conversations, okay? And so he's somebody who really enjoyed visioning things. And I think he thrived on that, of just when you could see beyond doing something. And he's somebody who also enjoys setting that fire under people. So when he sat with you, he was challenging you to think bigger, to see bigger, to go beyond, to the what if. And if, you know what, if somebody else hadn't done that, then it was probably interesting to him to go and do that. And he wasn't, you know, he didn't feel confined to a system or a process. I know one thing that Mike, there's a picture in the book at some point where during COVID, and in fact you were involved in this, the school ended up hosting this extraordinary global classroom. And that you know, you kind of sat in a room with Mike and we're talking about this idea that the children of the world aren't really talking about COVID at all, that's being done to them. And what's the opportunity here to bring a bit of light and a bit of hope? And so this conversation starts off and we keep talking about ideas and visions and thinking big, and we're all talking about it. I remember with Linda and Greg and everybody's involved, and I think Barry's involved at some point, and we're going through it and we're having chats about this crazy ideas that are going on and no one's believing it. And then Before we know it, we're on the phone to the United Nations. I kid you not. That's how it went. And I remember going to the boardroom, which was actually upstairs at one point, and there was the team there from UN, and it was Dr. Tedros at the time, isn't it, about to turn up. And I'm thinking, is this actually a joke, or is this actually going to happen? And we're on the phone to the UN team, and they're saying, it'd be a great idea if somebody just brought a bit of light and hope at this time, and we use this technology to bring the world together, and that the children can actually talk about what they're going through. Because in this moment, it was interesting. You rarely have moments in the world where every child around the world is experiencing the same thing. It's very, very rare. It's a refined area. And so in COVID, we suddenly dawned on us that every child right now is going through the same thing. So that led on to this conversation and this visioning, really, and Mike was key to that. Okay, and the UN is getting excited by it, and UNICEF's getting excited by it. This is genuinely true. The small school in West Lancashire stood upstairs, and it then became, well, you guys could do this, couldn't you? And I think Mike was like, yep, off we go. We're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. Now, we had no idea how we're going to make it happen, but that wasn't the point. If you visioned it and you believed it in Mike's view, he actually, that was it. You focus your energy towards that point of vision, and the rest kind of drew towards you magnetically as it happened. And that picture there, we just hosted the world's largest classroom with children all over the world, in Malaysia and in Cambodia, on a little webcam as well, going through it. And it was an extraordinary experience. And then we had Bear Grylls and yourself on that as well, and people taking place. And the school became, in Ormskirk, suddenly the centre of the world. And that is down to that extraordinary person who had that sense of vision that Mike had, and to achieve the impossible. And it's not unlike walking into a school with brambles, derelict, pupil numbers that know where they should be and not really going to work, but saying, why can't this school be one of the best schools in the world? Why can't this school have an impact that's global by our students going out and making a difference? And he held on to that, and it was unswerving. And I think when you can try and convince your family that when a school's in financial deficit and you've only got 130, 40 pupils on roll, this thing's going to be a good idea, and you put your entire family money backing it, you've got to have that unbelievable belief in the vision. And that's Mike to me. As well as being an extraordinary family man as well.
Very good.
So we've come to the end of our conversation, but David, I have to ask you, when are you writing the second edition?
Well, I'm 82 now, so perhaps when I'm 100.
Okay. So, and it won't take you 7 years.
There'll be another generation gone
Yeah.
through, and there'll be a further story to tell.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
If you did write another one, maybe you won't, but if you did, what is it about today's schools, not necessarily today's school, that you'd love to write about? When you look at education now, what do you think?
I don't feel I'm particularly well informed on the school situation now. When I did inspections, it was very good because it kept me in touch with the world of education, and I could make comparisons between various schools. Now, I don't know, with all the technology and Google and all the rest of that, and the societal pressures that there are on young people, I just take my hat off to Jeff and people like him who set a standard and maintain a standard and give values, and it's a focus on hope, looking to a future not with gloom and doom or the world's in a mess, but saying, no, if you stick to these values, there is hope. There are things that can be achieved. You're a walking example of it yourself, Michael. You can help people in this area and that area, and you can do things. So if it happened, I would want to focus on those who promote hope, shall we say.
That. What a great note to end on. Thank you.
I guess I've got to say a couple of things very important before we finish.
Go ahead.
Okay, because
You are the headmaster.
as a head, I can do this. Okay. First of all, I want to thank David for being here tonight. Okay. Now, Dave, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for David and the team at Scarisbrick Hall School. So the whole picture of this, I wouldn't have probably come back to be head at Scarisbrick if I wasn't a pupil at Scarisbrick. That's ingrained in my heart and who I am and what I've done. I thank my family for that. I don't thank the outdoor swimming pool, it's very cold. But on behalf of the school, David, what you've done is to reconnect the eras of the school together in a way which probably nobody else could do. And I'm eternally grateful for that. And there is, as customary at a school, maybe a small gift and token of our thanks coming from one side, I think, in this way. And I read the book, and it's difficult not to get emotional as you go through it. I found it fascinating from the start to the finish, the history behind it. So from my heart, from the whole family here as well, thank you so much for what you've done.
Wonderful.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. It's very kind.
And these kind of events do need a suitable chair as well. And we couldn't find one, so we've got Michael instead.
I thought you were talking about this.
Michael's a fantastic person, and a real person who stands there and is a standard bearer in your life. And I know you do thank the school, but you were also inspirational to our pupils as well. We had one of our students came back who's actually working on a legal case that you mentioned before about the post office and the blood scandal, and came to our school and is now being a standard bearer for that as well legally. It's Valerie, so it's wonderful to see what you're doing here. I know you opened our library, and I hope this is not the end of your visits to Scarisbrick Hall School and what you're doing. We have got a small gift for you as well. We do have a very special scarf of our school scarf for you, as well as a small crystal vase as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, thank you.
And a kiss from Susie, of course.
Oh, that's lovely. It's got my name on it.
It is indeed, yes. And,
Thank you.
As well as this, of course, most importantly, the book is available to buy in the Great Hall after this in a second. If you want a signed copy for no real fee, that's quite possible from David as well. And there are some refreshments and a bar set up in the Great Hall if you wish to join us for a chat or some photos as well. And I'm sure we'll see you over there. On behalf of myself, from Michael, and from David, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So lovely.